Hi everybody, welcome back to Living Our American Dream. Today's video is going to be about my compact tractor that you see behind me and all of the implements that I have accumulated over the years and sort of what they're used for. And then at the end of the video I will provide a suggestion on what I would recommend as the first few implements you should get if you're looking at buying a tractor. So first let's take a look at the tractor itself. But one of the first things I did was I added some lights. So work lights on the rear, work lights on the front. Much later I added a canopy. Now you can probably tell this is a golf cart canopy. I found that to be equally as effective and much less expensive than the orange ones you can buy. Couple of quick and easy and inexpensive additions were a couple pieces of PVC pipe that you can put shovels, rakes, whatever, right on the machine, so when you're out in the yard and do stuff. Very recently, only in the last 2 years, I purchased a quick hitch. Now, I always thought the quick hitch was too expensive and too much of a pain in the butt, but let me tell you, very much worth it. What you need to be careful about with the quick hitch is making sure that this spacing from side to side is correct, and from the center line of the pins to the center line of the top link is set on all your implements. Now, for mine, I had to change several of them, but a little bit of welding was well worth it, and now all of my implements are capable of the quick hitch. Last thing I want to show you on the tractor here is this would be probably my #1 recommendation along with the quick hitch as far as ease of changing implements. The skid steer quick attach system, or if you're on a John Deere has their own system. Personally, I think you have much more of an opportunity for a broad range of implements with the skid steer style as opposed to the John Deere style, but either one allows you to quickly attach and detach implements. This one just with a couple of levers. Now when I bought my tractor, I bought it tractor and loader only. And it had a pin-on bucket. This was an add-on for me. Nowadays, most tractors you can get this skid steer quick attach as an option, or some of them are standard right on the loader. So now let's talk about the implements that I've accumulated over the years. First, you can see behind me as I have a homemade angle iron fabricated drag for the driveway. Now I've put a giant weight on here, strapped onto the top to add weight to allow this thing to dig in. This used to be dragged behind a four-wheeler when I was a kid. Nowadays we've added some chains so that we can actually use the 3-point hitch to lift this and sit it down whenever we want to, but it just pins onto the hitch of the tractor. The next implement here is the brush hog. Now you can tell that this one is an old brush hog. This is an old Ford. Really heavy duty. This is 5 feet wide. So my tractor is 5 feet wide, the outside of the tires. So most of my implements you're going to see are 5 or 6 feet so that they cover or go beyond the limits of the back tire of the tractor. The next implement that I've gathered, and Mike, I'm going to have you start here and go around the back so you can see this, but this is a back blade or a straight blade, whatever you want to call it. It's a 6 foot wide, and not only are you able to tilt this in 5 positions forward, you can spin it around in 3 positions back. Most of them will do that. This one actually has an additional pin here where I can tilt this mold board this way for digging ditches or cleaning out a ditch. To be honest, I probably use this half a dozen times, but it is handy to be able to have. If you don't have that, you can always adjust your 3-point hitch arm. One of your arms will move, which will give you that tilt if you want to put a crown in a driveway. So the back blade, as far as digging dirt or plowing snow, very effective. The next one right here is actually my front snow plow. You can see right there, Mike. So this is about a 6.5 foot blade. It's a truck blade that was modified with a couple pins down here and a piece of chain so that it's flexible, and then the quick attach for the skid steer system. All right, next up is this tree scoop. You call it a tree spade or a tree scoop. I call it a tree shovel. It's made by this company called Loadquip. I purchased the skid steer quick attach adapter. You know, this lightweight tree scoop actually Works really well for breaking roots and transplanting trees. And most recently, I dug a trench with it, actually, a water drainage trench. So works well for that kind of stuff. The next implement here is our box blade. So the box blade, if you notice, this doesn't look like typically what your box blades are going to look like when you buy them. All of this stuff up here I had to re-weld. What these are used for, they've got a cutting edge in the front and a cutting edge on the back, so you can kind of bulldoze and reverse. You can break up material and pull it with you, and this box will actually hold material as you go, and you can move your 3-point hitch to drop or dig depending on what you need to do. Probably one of the most useful implements. We'll get to that in my recommendations in a minute. The next implement is probably one that I use the most, but it's going to be dependent upon what your situation is and how you tend to your property. So this is a 6-foot finish mower. I mow my grass with this. So with our tractor, I actually remove the loader off the tractor and put the rear finish mower on, and it's surprisingly maneuverable. Okay, so the next one, I'm going to call it an implement, but pretty much if you have a tractor with a loader, you're going to have a bucket. So the only thing I'm going to say about the bucket, this one is a little bit oversized. My tractor really calls for a 60-inch bucket. This one is a 66-inch bucket. As you'll notice that there's chain hooks on here. So they welded chain hooks onto the sides for me. And if I welded this one on just right up here where it's reinforced, and I've never had a problem with this. So now this next one, I actually did a video on making this on the channel. I forget which video it was. But this is a Carryall. Might go around to the back side there, take a peek at what's on here. This is just a plain old Carryall. It's actually on here. I paid $149 for it. I think it was on sale. I might have paid $129 for this frame. And buy some lumber, some carriage bolts, and bolt all this stuff on here. You can make this a whole bunch of different ways. There's so many ways that you can build these. What I've chose to do is I added 4 PVC, 2 here and 2 here, for yard implements, hand tools. And you can see I've got 2 frames, 1 on each side, and this is where I put my chainsaws. I have 2 chainsaws. I put one in here so you could kind of get the idea. Wedge it in there with a felling wedge, and it rides right there really nice. So the next one is pallet forks. I also did a video on this on my channel a while back. These are 1,800 pound capacity, and I believe my tractor lifts about 1,000 pounds, so it's pretty well matched for that. The last 2 things that I'm going to mention here are pretty straightforward. This is a trailer mover. This is fairly inexpensive. I use it sparingly for trailer moving. To be honest, I use it more for the driveway grader that I showed you in the beginning. I added chain hooks here, welded on chain hooks. This is where I hook the chains for that driveway grader, and I'm able to lift that up with the 3-point hitch. The last implement is a subsoiler. The intention of a subsoiler, typically you can drop this thing right down to the ground and it'll go 18 to 20 inches down, and the power of the tractor just kind of busts up the ground. Now what I used it for was, I seen a YouTube video on this. I rigged up this that bolts onto here, and I made it removable. But what you end up doing is you dig a hole and you set your subsoiler point by my foot down here in that hole. And in our case, we ran the gas line for my barn, 3/4 inch flexible gas line down through here, pulled it out the sweep, and you drop this thing in the ground, and as you drive, you feed it in there. So it could be a water line, a gas line, it could be wire, cable, anything that would fit in this 1.5 inch PVC. And as you drive, you just feed it into this hole, and you get to where you're going and cut it off long, and you just ran an underground line without having to dig any holes other than in the starting hole. So it worked extremely well for that. I ran that gas line. I think I dug the hole. It took me 5 minutes to dig the initial hole, dropped the line in there, and I drug it about 300 feet in 2 minutes. Alright, so now for my recommendation. For almost everybody that's going to be in the market for a compact tractor, you're going to buy the tractor, it's going to come with a loader, which means you're going to have a bucket. So this is not in the conversation. My brother recently bought his first tractor and asked me the same question, so I thought I would do this video to kind of answer these questions. So it really depends on what you are using your tractor for. In his case, he has a 10-acre piece of property. He wants to plow snow and till up gardens and that kind of stuff. He has no use for a brush hog, for example. So if you are that kind of guy that wants to just maintain your property and you're doing stuff mostly in your yard, I would probably recommend the tractor, the loader with the bucket, maybe a box blade, and probably a straight blade, the rear blade that you can turn and twist. You can dig dirt with it, you can plow snow with it. If you do a lot of snow plowing, if you get a lot of snow, I'd probably recommend the front snow blade. I didn't mention this, but when I use the front snow blade, chains on the tires, the rear tires of the tractor, come in really handy. For almost everyone, I would recommend a set of pallet forks. And I know for the most part, most people say pallet forks. I don't need pallet forks, I don't move anything on a pallet. Well, what I found with pallet forks, before I had them, I didn't think I needed them either. And what I found since I purchased pallet forks are, I use them almost as much as I do the bucket. Anything from moving a little bit of brush, moving logs. You can get pallets usually for free from your hardware or anywhere, and you can just sit material on them. Then you want to move something around the property, you pick it up and you move it. I put firewood in some totes. I can pick a whole cord of firewood up with the loader and move it around. So, and then I'd say probably the last thing that I would recommend for almost everybody is going to be right here to my left, and that's the Carryall. And the reason that I recommend it is it's fairly inexpensive and it's very, very useful. Almost everybody that has this is going to have a yard. Anybody that has a tractor, and anything from yard work to cutting firewood to that kind of stuff, I would recommend getting and building your own version of this. You're welcome to watch my video. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there on making an effective carryall. So anyway, I hope this video has been useful to you and you found some interesting points. If you see me using some of these implements that are not mine, feel free to ask a question. If you have any questions on what I have, or you want me to do a specific video on one of these implements, let me know in the comments. Besides that, I appreciate you watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.